Hi, and welcome back to Brief Recaps.
Today, I'm going to explain an action-packed thriller and crime film titled Safe, released in the year 2012. The story unfolds with a young girl named May, who is being taken by a Russian crime boss. The crime boss, Duchesky, demands that she gives him the correct numbers after she had lied to him a number of times. A year before this incident, May proved herself to be very talented in math. Even though she didn't mean to, her talent was intimidating to her teachers. This forces the head teacher of her school to want to move her to a different school, which he says is for gifted children like her. May doesn't seem to want this, as she claims to want to remain with her friends in her current school. Meanwhile, she and her friends are walking along the streets when she gets taken by unknown men. On the other hand, a man named Luke Wright is being beaten up by a devastated mother. Apparently, Luke had sent her son into a coma after he was dumb enough to get into an illegal fighting ring with him. This angers Luke, as he claims to have no idea that the boy was an amateur. He rushes to see the man who had set him up to fight the boy. Getting there, the man doesn't seem to care about the boy who he claimed to have found on YouTube. Instead, he reminds Luke about the fact that he had cost a lot of people money for not losing the match. These people, he said, included the Russian crime boss, Emil Duchesky. Meanwhile, May finally gets to meet her kidnapper, and he is none other than the Chinese crime lord Han Jiao. He claims to have been told about May's special talent by his niece, a classmate of hers, and her teacher. As much as this surprised May, she is left with no time to think about this, as she is offered a job by Han. He promises to take care of her abandoned and sick mother, while assuring her of a father that will take care of her. At first, May doesn't seem interested with his offer, but eventually has a change of heart when he threatens to kill her mother if she doesn't comply. Impressed by her brief show of skill, he shows her new father Chang to her and informs her that her only job would be to count for them. However, having been told about the fact that he had offended the Russian crime boss, Luke rushes home to check on his wife. Getting to his house, Luke is shocked to see that the Russians had gotten to her before he could. Duchesky's son, Vasily, decides to spare Luke's life on the condition that he lives like a stray and possibly kill himself if he is tired with life. Vasily promises to kill anyone Luke ever gets close to or shows any kind of love. When they leave, Luke is forced to be on the run. He tries to escape their surveillance, but they seem to be everywhere he goes. After a while, and still on the run, he seeks shelter in a shelter home with a lot of homeless men. The shelter seems to be guarded, so Luke feels a little safe here. That night, while he is about to sleep, one of the homeless men admires and asks him for his sneakers. When Luke sees how wounded his foot is, he decides to give the sneakers to him. However, the next morning, Luke finds the man dead and the sneakers gone from his leg. With this, he realizes that he had caused the man's death by showing love to him. For failing to see who did this, the guards of the shelter demand that Luke leaves and never returns again. Meanwhile, May seems to be having a hard time working with the Chinese gang. As part of her job, she is forced to witness the brutal beating and killing of a man who affected their business. Later that night, she is informed by a woman close to her new father, Chang, that her mother is actually dead. This devastates her, but being a smart girl, she agrees not to let them know about it. The next day, Han Jiao hands May a list of numbers to memorize, and she does so at a glance. After this, he tells her she would have to go with Chang to a place where she would be given another list of numbers to memorize. However, on their way, they are attacked by the Russian gang, who take May away. On the other hand, while Luke continues on his endless sojourn, he meets a police officer who recognizes him as his old partner years back. He takes Luke to meet the others, and the meeting doesn't seem like a fruitful one, as Luke is beaten right from the start. They are angry that he had snitched on them in the past and wonder why he would return to the area. They seem delighted at the fact that the Russian gang are on his trail and even inform him about the bets they have made on how he would die. May is taken to meet Duchesky, who demands that she gives him the correct numbers. When she refuses, he threatens to torture the right numbers out of her. While they talk, the police pound on the door as they are ready to charge in. The pending disturbance gives May an opportunity to sneak away. The police remain on standby as the captain of the police seems to be in the pockets of both the Russians and the Chinese. He had apparently been contacted by the Chinese to raid the Russians, but now the Russians offer him a better deal. After a while, he figures out that they are both willing to pay a huge price for just a little girl. Now he wants the girl for himself. He tries to trick the Russians into lowering their guards, but Duchesky informs him that the girl has escaped. With this new information, the captain gives his men new orders to find the girl. With this order, the Chinese realize that they have been screwed and decide to go to war. At the subway, Luke contemplates jumping in front of a train, with suicide being his supposed last option. While he stands beside the lines, he sees May, and for a brief moment, a glimpse of hope flashes before his eyes. He steps back to observe and realizes that she is being chased by the Russian gang. She finds her way onto a train and the Russians unknowingly follow her in. Seeing this, Luke realizes that she is in danger and immediately hops on the train. When the Russians almost catch up with May, Luke charges at them and beats them to a pulp. May witnesses this and she is scared of Luke. When he tries to approach her, she runs away. While following her, Luke sees her almost taken away by the police. He immediately comes to her aid and takes her from them. Once again, she is scared of him, but he assures her that he won't hurt her. Shortly after, he sees that the Russians have tracked her down and are close by. This prompts him to make use of the police vehicle in a bid to escape them. However, seeing him, they are in pursuit of the vehicle. While driving, he tries to ask May what exactly is going on, but she doesn't respond. This makes him believe that she doesn't understand English. Luke, however, continues to drive crazily as he heads to an ally. There, he finishes off their pursuers and takes the girl to a hotel where he thinks they will be safe. In the hotel room, Luke introduces himself to her and asks her why those men are after her. She is, however, reluctant to tell him anything. Eventually, after a long and subtle interrogation, she tells him about the numbers and offers to tell it to him. He declines her offer and is less interested about the numbers. However, he realizes that the numbers are not completely useless as she breaks down the uniqueness of some to him. At this point, he figures out that the number she carries is actually the combination to open a safe. Unknown to him, the Chinese had earlier put a tracking device on May and figure out that she is inside the hotel. Chang decides to ask the receptionist nicely, but she insists on not wanting to reveal the information of their guests. His patience runs dry as he is forced to use his gun to get the information out of her. Meanwhile, the hotel security see Chang's action through the security cameras and rush down to handle the situation. Unfortunately for them, the Chinese open fire and insist that no one gets in or out of the hotel as they try to find the girl. Their gunshots are heard by Luke and May, who now try to figure out a way to escape. Before that, Luke instructs May to write down the unique numbers. Then he tells her to lie that she didn't tell him anything if they ever get separated. They sneak out of the room and find themselves in the restaurant. Unfortunately, the Chinese have already taken over the place, but this doesn't stop Luke. He fights them off, one after the other. Along the line, May gets taken by Chang as he shoots at Luke. Fortunately, Luke escapes unharmed. The police arrive at the scene and surround the hotel, with the Chinese still inside. In order to escape, the Chinese resort to making everyone run out in a stampede, causing the police to be confused. Still on the run, Luke contacts Vasily, the son of the Russian crime boss, and poses as one of his men. He tells him that he has the numbers and wants to meet. Although Vasily finds this suspicious, as the man in question had been pronounced dead by the police. After contemplating, he tells Luke where he is and they agree to meet at the bar. Meanwhile, the police captain has a meeting with the mayor where he informs the mayor about the recent happenings and the fact that Luke Wright is at the center of it all. The police captain, however, doesn't seem so bothered about Luke. In response to this, the mayor enlightens him about how dangerous Luke is. Furthermore, the police captain informs the mayor about the girl they are after and that Luke had taken the girl before they could. This seems to be the only thing that shocked the major, who ordered that every road leading out of the city be closed in a bid to making sure that Luke or May do not get away. Later on, the Chinese successfully get May back to Hanjiao. Seeing her, he is filled with doubt that she must have told somebody about the numbers, but she convinces him otherwise. On the other hand, Luke arrives at the bar for his supposed meeting with Vasily. He scouts the area and realizes that Vasily had placed his men around the bar. Strategically, he finishes them off, with Vasily left on his own. Then he takes Vasily to his car and calls Duchesky, leaving him with the threat. Duchesky ends up revealing the location of the safe and what's in it to him. With this new information, Luke goes out to get the contents of the safe, but to do this, he would need a small army. To get his small army, Luke resorts to making use of his old partners in the police, with the captain of the police included. They didn't come with him because they care about him, but because he reveals the content of the safe to them. Greedy for it, they embark on a raid, with their target being unlocking the safe and gaining its contents. Like a tactical team, they charge into the Chinese club that houses the safe, as they shoot every gang member they come across. While they advance, the captain shoots one of his men who had been injured in the head. To erase suspicions, he shoots the dead body of a Chinese gang member, making it seem like he had done it. Shortly after, they arrive at the safe. The group hated Luke so much that they were willing to kill him. However, the only reason why they had agreed to work with him, and why he is still alive, is because he is the only one amongst them who has the code to unlock the safe. Now that they finally get to the safe, Luke suspects that they will turn against him. He tells them to drop their guns while he unlocks the safe, and they comply, although not for long, as they try to pick it up just as he is almost done with unlocking the safe. This prompts him to pick up his gun faster than them and kill them all, leaving just the captain standing. He uses the captain as his means of escape, as the police had now surrounded the club. The whole purpose of the money and the numbers had apparently been to get a disc that contains names and money trails of top people in the city. Luke calls the man behind the whole thing, whose name is Alex. He tells Alex that he is now in possession of the money which the Chinese had intended to give him in exchange for the information on the disc, after which he tells them that the Chinese have something that he needs, which happens to be the girl, May. With this in mind, Alex goes through with his plan to meet the Chinese. On meeting them, they ask that he gives them the combination to his safe while they tell him theirs in return. Acting like he isn't aware about the whole situation, he brings out a pen to take down the numbers. Shockingly, he uses the pen to stab one of them as he shoots every last one of them down. Then, he takes the girl to meet with Luke. Before meeting with Alex, Luke stops by at the mayor's office to get the disc Alex had earlier talked about. When he meets with Alex, he sees him with a gun in his hand pointed at May. Jokingly, he tells Alex that he has the money in the car, but just as he says so, Alex tries to pull the trigger. Then he tells him that the money might be scattered around different banks. To sort things out, the two decide to drop their guns and fight with their hands. Just as the fight is about to begin, May shoots Alex in the leg, allowing Luke to finish the job. Together, the two head out, but first send Han Jiao's money back to him with a threat to not ever try to come after them. Thanks for watching. Before you go, be sure to like as it really helps the channel, and subscribe for more recaps on your favorite movies. And until next time guys, take care.